On the evening of Saturday, May 11th, 2024, a post was made on MLP. A YouTuber known as Tamers12345 was going to make My Little Pony his bitch. This is quite the statement, and obviously many people were pretty skeptical as to if this would happen or not. Some people were quite excited, and they said that Ko would start coping. The first episode of Tamers My Little Pony series received a great deal of positive attention, and with each episode the view count kept rising, and more names began to appear on the Patreon list, some of which were familiar figures in the pony community. I'm even on there. Now, I'm no good at dissecting stories. I know someone who is, but my purpose in this video is to figure out what made Tamers such a smash hit with the My Little Pony community, and who better to discuss this with than with the pony I've been talking to about Tamers the most. Fillies and Gentlecolts, I present to you...
Hi, I'm PSI Mae, and after spending $3 to have my name slapped on what was essentially an hour and a half of softcore gay porn with the occasional fight scene, Rover and I will now give our honest and informed opinions on what made Tamers12345 so appealing to the MLP community in 2024.
There are a few reasons, and call me what you want, but I know a pretty cute one. I mean gay, I mean soft, I mean... a pretty big one. Tamers has had a good following before he ever even made My Little Pony episodes. 10 years worth of people. People who spoke about it loudly when Tamers aired his first My Little Pony episode. I've already kind of covered this when I showed the image of the very first My Little Pony Tamers thread, but it proves my point. On top of this, it's seemingly well known that Tamers has had an interest in ponies beforehand, as a pony plush could be spotted in an older video of his. I tried looking at a few of his in-room videos made over the last few years, but I couldn't find it. Just take my word for it. Tamers' fandom prior to his My Little Pony episodes was a little smaller, but still sizable and dedicated. People who spoke about him amongst themselves in their own circles. Clearly, it was a pretty big shakeup when Tamers announced the airing of his My Little Pony episode, and it was received with mixed opinions by the older Tamers fans. It's a little difficult to be vocally dissatisfied, though, when you have 100,000 new Tamers Pony fans that are way more vocal about how great he is. Guilty as charged. It's no secret that after the initial years of the Pony Brony craze, the fandom died down a fair amount, the darkest days being the end of G4 and the pandemic, as people saw the fandom as something to be left in the 2010s. Of course, people being hypocrites, they began to return to the fandom over the past few years, born again as true horse lovers. Naturally, many fans returning to the old fandom, as well as longtime fans, were starved of Mere Kino. They wanted to see some more content, as many older pony content creators have left the fandom or don't produce as much anymore. Tamers not only satisfied that need, but his crude humor and art style, when he's not drawing wilfs and twink femcolts, brought back a sense of nostalgia to the days of Hot Diggity Demon and smaller, poorly drawn projects done by amateur autist artists. The old school YouTube humor also simultaneously appeals to the 4chan fans, who've been here since the start. They say it reminds them of the aforementioned old content. At least, that's what the sentiment was earlier on during Tamers' run before he made it into absolute cinema of the highest caliber. It has attracted a wide audience, including Horsefame celebrities who first made fan works of Tamers before then working with him on the Soreburn finale. This is just a small part of the resurgence of early 2010s internet culture. Very strange to be around if you ask me, as I was there to experience it, but too young to understand any of it. Thank God for unrestricted internet access for children, am I right? Tamers has good stories that focus on the struggles of people with the societal aspects of the world they live in, facing homophobia in the Soren Burmack arc, as well as stories that focus on the magical setting of Equestria like the Flawless arc. Combined with the great slice of life episodes that still progress arcs in meaningful ways, the Tamers My Little Pony series has something for everyone. I like to poke fun and say that the Tamers My Little Pony videos are 30 to 90 minutes of homosexual porn and shit jokes, but in the Soren Bernmack finale, I really did sit there at the end with a lump in my throat, and during the flawless battle in Death of Twilight Sparkle, I was screaming bloody murder every time a twist happened. The hype is real. Tamers really did do it well. Some say even better than Hasbro. No shit. But I'm no professional writer myself. I told you that I'm not here to dissect the story. So I can't tear into the flesh of them like my awesome-tastic guest can. Take it away, Mae.
I find that Tamers has the same universal gravitational pull as Friendship is Magic did in its heyday, because these two have something in common. No, it's not the technicolored horses, but its sincerity. They both know exactly what they are, a toy commercial and a crude parody respectively, but to them it's not a hindrance, but a platform to make the best art it can. Friendship is Magic never came off as condescending, dumbed down, or corporate. It was purely itself. There was no sense of shame in enjoying it for what it was, because it was clear how much love was put into it. Tamers is much the same. It uses its crude humor as a means of elevating its story. I understand that its content might not be for everybody, but the same can be said about My Little Pony. Like all forms of art, you have to meet it at its level to fully appreciate it, regardless if you like it or not. Sure, he doubled down on the Brayburn and Big Mac incest bit, but it was used as a means of deconstructing how that would affect the dynamic of a family, or how it could put a damper on everyone else in their life. Because it is so true and has so much respect for itself, Tamers can take his story in any direction he wants, juvenile or serious. For just these characters, it goes even further than that. Brayburn, Big Mac, and Soren were all facing the blunt end of homophobia and all dealt with it in their own ways. Brayburn kept returning to an incestuous and physically abusive relationship with Big Mac because Big Mac was his first. Big Mac was the only other gay pony he knew, the only one that wouldn't prosecute him for his identity, and for a while, the only option he had for romantic affection. It creates an affiliation that being with Big Mac means he's safe, even if Big Mac might be a damaging partner for him. On the other hand, Big Mac is someone who has internalized homophobia, trying to find justifications for his homoerotic feelings, like thinking incest doesn't count. But that mindset doesn't really stick, as he would find himself physically abusing Brayburn out of his own frustration with being attracted to another male. Finally, there's Soren, who is under the eye of many adoring fans, so he has to keep up a reputation if he wants to support himself. This has made him jaded, as he's tried to hide himself for so long, and despite the fact he's very old, he still looks young, frozen in time, a reminder of all of his missed opportunities. This complicated love triangle that shows the effects of prejudice on a marginalized group all came from a throwaway joke about the stereotype of country folks sleeping with their relatives. And if you think what he was able to achieve with niche side characters was impressive, wait until you see what he does with his interpretation of the main cast. In probably his most influential video, The Death of Twilight Sparkle, Twilight and Trixie's bitchy rivalry turns into an insane high-concept fantasy epic. These two are both flawed and insecure characters, each wanting something the other has, making them perfectly antithetical to one another. Twilight needs a sense of self-acceptance, and Trixie needs a sense of acceptance from others. Their hatred of each other manifests itself into a combined being, a flawless creature, which makes them realize the thing they needed most in their life was each other. Together, they feel complete. Together, they are flawless. Damn, I guess what they say is true. If your rivalry lasts longer than 7 years, then you're no longer just rivals. You are gay. This takes G4's fundamental concept of the magic of friendship, and not just embraces that as an unapologetic theme of this parody, but elevates it and pushes it further, without disgracing its lowbrow origins. But there is one character at the heart of all of this that would be foolish not to discuss: Princess Luna. Luna, by all accounts, is what I consider to be the best representation of Tamers' writing philosophy. Her melodramas are juxtaposed by her sister, Princess Celestia, one of the most insane satirizations of any character from MLP. Celestia can be cruel, heartless, or disgusting, but that doesn't matter as every pony else sees her as this perfect monolith. Luna has to continuously try to prove her worth, especially after her many mistakes. This comes as especially challenging as she loves her sister, and she can't admit to that because it would go against everything she was trying to achieve. It would mean that Celestia still has dominance over her. If you haven't picked it up, I'm using very colorful language. Absurdity and sincerity, yin and yang, Celestia and Luna. This at its core is what this arc of Tamers' legacy is all about. That's why I think G5 didn't land with fans as much as it could. It didn't have a lot of sincerity. When watching either of the Generation 5 series, it is far more obvious when they're trying to sell you a toy, or bait longtime fans with false promises of something greater. G5 feels as if it's almost trying to shadow Generation 4 and completely loses its own sense of identity. Somehow, Tamers found himself in a position of understanding the appeal of My Little Pony more than Hasbro themselves. He somehow managed to defy all odds and capture lightning in a bottle for a second time. And what came was a surge of fandom appreciation I haven't seen since Friendship is Witchcraft. I don't know how much longer this arc on his channel is going to last. Sonic Underground is still the hearth of his content, so I can imagine he'd want to return to it as soon as possible. But I am all around satisfied with where we are right now. All I have left to say is, thank you, Tamers. I can't wait to see what you do next.
The fact Tamers managed to aim his stories in these episodes in two completely different directions and still write them both exceedingly well, have them intersect multiple times, and then give them both incredible conclusions separate from one another, generating such an insane buzz in the fandom that fandom top celebrities like Prince Whatever, BGM, and Melody Brony and more have all produced tributes to his work, it really becomes hard to believe it all stems from some random /MLP post on some late May evening. This has set a new quality standard for the fandom as a whole. I truly hope it pushes people in the fandom to produce more, and better than they had prior. True snow pity and internet pony supremacy can still be achieved. Thank you PSI Mae for participating in this video. Go check her channel out. I've added her in the title as well as the description.
What did you say, bitch? I thought it was clear that you aren't meant to speak. Yet I hear the sound of your voice. Anyway. Gay punch!